Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Terracon Ecotech's Environment Day webinar, Ecological Restoration, a Key Towards Nature Positive. My name is Ajali Shirolkar, and I'm Biodiversity Analyst at Terracon Ecotech and will be moderating this event today. Terracon Ecotech is India's first ecology-based environmental consultancy, having undertaken over 150 projects in India since 2008. We have expertise in the areas of biodiversity, conservation, ecological restoration, inventorization, plantation and transplantation of trees and mangroves, environmental and ecological impact assessment, and climate change advisory services. Over the years, Terracon has transformed itself into a strong advocate for nature-based solutions for solving environmental and societal challenges with ecosystem-based approaches. Our webinar for today celebrates the 2021 theme Ecosystem Restoration. This webinar aims to discuss and raise awareness on the practice of renewing and restoring degraded, damaged, or destroyed ecosystems and habitats through active intervention and action. Our speaker today, Dr. Ninath Raut, is currently heading Ecology and Biodiversity Department in Terracon. He coordinates and executes all projects on biodiversity assessment, management, action plans, tree inventories, greenbelt assessments, ecology and biodiversity components, and EIS. He has over 13 years of experience in the areas of terrestrial biodiversity, vegetation studies, mangrove ecosystems, butterfly diversity, environmental education, and environmental impact studies. He is also a NABERT accredited functional area expert for ecology and biodiversity. We'll be having questions and answer session at the end. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please send them to us. We'll save some time towards the end of the webinar to address them. I will now hand over the PPT to Mr. Ninath Raut to commence the webinar.
Thank you, Ujali. Ujali, is screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As Ujali has already explained that today we are here to attend the webinar on ecological restoration, which is a part of a World Environment Day celebration. So let me start with this to say that as we face a various environmental challenges, climatic disrupts, changing weather patterns, we cannot turn time back to the original, back to the very goody-goody level. But can we do something to make it better? Better for ourselves by growing trees, by greening our cities and highways, or by rebuilding our gardens, or change in some our lifestyle, uh, cleaning up or keeping clean our rivers and all the water bodies. So as we celebrate World Environment Day today, let me emphasize on one simple connect here. Last year's theme for World Environment Day was Time for Nature. At the same time, the Biodiversity Day, which is celebrated on May 22nd every year, had a theme of Our Solutions Are in Nature. Whereas this year, the theme for Biodiversity Day was We Are Part of Solution. So this year's World Environment Day theme suggests us, lays down a path to suggest to be as active. It allows us to think and gives us a roadmap what we can do to to be a part of this solution. To by being active, by reimagining, by recreating, and by doing restoration, what we can achieve is what we need to think, and that is what our this World Environment Day suggests. United Nations have decided to this decade as a ecosystem restoration, wherein the as per the challenge or as one of the challenge, countries have been pledged to bring 350 million hectares of world reforested or degraded land into restoration by 2030. So when we say this, what is nature? Nature is a kind of a phenomena. It's an aura uh, that makes us speechless when we get into touch with it. It can be a simple flora, fauna, plants, beautiful flowers, colorful birds that are around us, to a complex ecosystem connect or the correlation that every biodiversity component or every living organism has with its own habitat, its own home. Uh, so even to the level of nutrient cycling or even soil formation, etc. So this is entire nature. Now, what has happened to this nature? Why we are saying this? We need to create awareness. Why we are celebrating World Environment Day? Why we are celebrating Biodiversity Day? Essentially, to create an awareness, to bring the facts that what is happening and what we need to do or what we can do for its betterment. Now, if we are a part of a nature and everything is good for us, then how we are going to how we are making a nature in a better way. So what has happened over the period of time is nature is getting degraded. Nature, biodiversity, ecosystem, you call anything, but that is getting degraded. If we see, because of two factors, one is anthropogenic, one is natural factor. So anthropogenic factors could be urbanization or rampant urbanization, let us say, industrialization, unsustainable industrialization, overpopulation. At the same time, some natural factors like flood, droughts, earthquakes, hurricanes, or even say forest fire, may be natural or human induced. What happens after that? We have lots of land, water, air pollution, desertification, water shortage issues, ozone depletion, global warming, loss of biodiversity, ecosystem, everything. Some of these are really natural factors which we cannot control, but many of them are either directly or indirectly having a linkage with the human activities, good or bad, whether you like it or you don't like it, but yes, it is human induced. So what we can do to turn the tables, what we can do to make it better? So the solutions are in nature. So if we let nature be our teacher, nature has everything to teach us, and that is how this concept has been introduced in the decade that has passed, nature based solutions. So that, does that mean this is completely a new concept? Probably no. What we were used to do to conserve the nature, to protect the nature, these were the kind of a similar activities, but we need a more comprehensive, we need more integrated, inclusive solutions to bring back nature, to restore nature, so that all the ecosystem services that nature provides to us will be provided for a future, to the future generation in a very appropriate manner. So these actions to protect, sustainably manage or restore natural modified ecosystem that addresses societal challenges. This is very important, to address societal challenges, and that is to be effectively and adaptively simultaneously providing human well-being. So when we say biodiversity, sometimes it is a perspective that, oh, these people are talking about biodiversity. What am I supposed to do about it, or how I'm connected to it? So here, if you can see the illustration, it addresses, or it allows us to achieve human well-being and biodiversity benefits by addressing the societal challenges. So these societal challenges could be anything like food security, livelihood alternatives, or livelihood to be very specific, water shortage, and climatic regulations, etc. So if we take care of nature, will the nature provide us everything? Probably yes, to the fact that yes, it will be. But the way we are doing the development, probably it is impacting on the nature in a way that the modified ecosystems may or may not provide the exact ecosystem services what we want to. And that is why we need to think from a different perspective with a different approach of an ecological restoration. Whatever we have done till now, if in last few slides, if you see, last decade was decade on biodiversity, and this decade, what UN has decided is ecosystem restoration. Now, why ecosystem restoration? Why ecological restoration? Because by now, probably in last 30 50 years, we have done so much of development, unsustainable development, that we have forgot that we are part of a nature, that we have forgot that it will impact ultimately on us. And now we have degraded that ecosystem to that extent that now we definitely need an intervention so that we can support the nature, we can support the evolution that is happening in the nature or the ecosystem to reach to probably the original ecosystem it could be, and then achieve the ecosystem services that it is going to be provided. And that is why this ecosystem restoration that deals with environmental degradation for better ecosystem services. Now let us see in a simple manner how poor ecosystem, what it does, who will be benefited if we turn the table. So this social disruptions like unemployments, or pandemic diseases, or even unsustainable uh, practices, everything is linked with with two important factors, that is ignorance about biodiversity and the rampant development that we have brought in. So that one is, yes, the poor management or the ignorance to the biodiversity has started degrading the ecosystem. In addition to that, we have the climate change impacts that has been carried out, that has been pushed the ecosystems to degrade further. The population increase obviously puts the larger demand on the ecosystem. The natural resources, the earth surface or the resources on the earth are not getting increased day by day. They are the fixed ones. It's just that the dependents are increasing, and when our demand is increasing, obviously there will be impact on the natural resources. And this natural resources, you just try to imagine, our every activity, our every second what we do, we are dependent on nature. We may say that, okay, right now electricity, mobile phones, or anything that we are not taking it from nature. But if you look into the complete life cycle of that particular product, or the if you deep down to the root or the production cycle, you will find that our dependency is on nature to the extent that every product will have a natural resource as a raw material. Now, as the ecosystem degrades, we lost the biodiversity, and obviously ecosystem services gets depletes down. That results in a loss of human well-being. Obviously the societal disruptions, since societal disruptions, we are again ignoring the ecosystem or the biodiversity, putting a lot of pressure on the ecosystem, and then this cycle goes on. What we need to do, we need to protect the biodiversity, we need to properly manage the ecosystem services ecosystem, so that the services provided by it, so we'll have to be a resilient, we will have to create a resilient ecosystem, a resilient community, so that we can address these issues. And then obviously there will be a secure biodiversity ecosystem services. So most of our problems of food security, or say natural hazard protection, or local climatic variation or microclimatic variations, human well-being, that will get addressed to the level that we can live sustainably, we can live peacefully. And this making a peace with nature is ultimately the solutions are in nature. So if we think that we are a part of a nature, then we are part of a solution. If we think we are away from nature, then it's very difficult then we will not be able to understand nature. And that is why it is very much important that we need to understand nature. And that is a crux of ecosystem restoration as well. As you have seen, as you have heard that through Bond Challenge, the countries have been pledged to bring back, 350 million hectares of degraded forest into, restore it. What will happen ultimately? So in a decade, if we actually can manage to do that, there are a lot of sustainable development goals which have been decided by UN, uh, to 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 protect the human well-being will be addressed. So life on water, life on earth, life, poverty, education, along with the food security and social well-being, whatever that we have talked about, all these sustainable goals will be addressed if we actually do ecosystem restoration. So ecosystem restoration, we have taken this as one part. Ecosystem restoration may not be the entire stuff. Ecosystem restoration is just one part to cover up, to clear, to gain these advantages, to gain this, to achieve these sustainable development goals. But whatever we have degraded till now, if we don't look into that, if we don't restore that, probably the conservation efforts what we put to conserve what is currently intact will not be enough. And that is why ecosystem restoration is an supplementary, is an complementary move to protect the biodiversity that is present on the earth. Now let us see ecological restoration into detail. So what happens with ecological restoration? It is a process of assisting the recovery of an ecosystem that has been degraded, damaged, destroyed. Along with that, this theory of ecosystem, or this ecological restoration is rooted into ecological theory, and requires an integrated approach from a different disciplines. So including soil science, hydrology, conservation biology, together with relevant socio-economic and political framework, ecological restoration interventions also rely on the applied fields such as agronomy, horticulture, forestry. So we need to understand what is happened, what has happened over there, what we need to achieve, how we need to achieve it, and all that stuff is required when we do ecological restoration. For example, restoration of soil quality together with improved nutrient cycling, water retention, or pollination services, regulation of soil erosion can benefit traditional agriculture production through the improved crop or forage production. It also enhances the provision of other important ecosystem services, including clean water, wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration, and recreational or the aesthetic ecosystem services. Now there are new things, new as in say decade or 2 decades old, that we have started valuing the ecosystem. Why? Because otherwise human beings are not, unable to understand the value of nature. We only understand the value of money. So we have to now put a tag of cost to all the ecosystem services that that has been provided by nature, that has been provided by ecosystem. So once we put a tag, once we put a value to ecosystem services, it's better for our understanding. And that is how the biodiversity valuation has come into picture. So once this payment for such ecosystem services are have been placed, the growing source of this will form a growing source for the as a income generation for rural inhabitants, or the communities which are beholding, which are holding the ecosystem intact. So they are instrumental, they are critical in actually managing the ecosystem. So this ecological restoration also can create a green jobs, new opportunities in rural areas or even in urban areas. When we are saying that make our cities green, definitely we'll have to look into a different perspective of the employment opportunities, and that will also create a livelihood alternatives from restoration. So this goal for ecological restoration is to return the degraded ecosystem to its historic trajectory and not the historic condition. So uh, just to explain, it's like we will be looking into the species composition of the ecosystem that is degraded. However, it may or may not reach to the exactly what it was or what it used to be 10 years back, 20 years back, or 50 years back. We'll have to understand the trajectory. We'll have to understand the evolution that has been taken place over the period of time, how nature is being coordinating, correlating with other factors and going ahead. So you may ask a question that then what is wrong now? It's like it is degraded. That's a path. Probably not, because as a process of evolution, say let us take an example of species extinction. It's a natural phenomenon, but the important factor is due to human interventions, due to human activities, the upcoming sixth extinction, which is talked about a lot, has increased the rate of that extinction to almost 1,000 times more. Many species which we have not yet identified, science has not yet have identified it, they are getting lost, and probably their correlation we are yet unable to establish, we are yet unable to document it, but the species have been lost. And that is why it is very important that we need to understand what what was there and how it could have been reached to X say condition, and on that basis ecosystem restoration needs to be done. Very important. The ecosystem restoration or ecological restoration or restoration, whatever you call, is not a substitute for conservation. Whatever is there, it's not that we destroy first and then do the restoration. Whatever is there, we need to protect it. So conservation will be first. Whatever we have degraded till now, we are talking about that to restore it. And why we need to protect it? Because otherwise we will not be able to understand the context of the original ecosystem. So the trajectory path which I was talking is something like this, wherein we need to understand the if we just consider the ecosystem process as a biomass or nutrient cycling. So degraded from one particular say level, ecosystem will start degrading because of the activities, because of the factors that we have discussed. From there, if we don't take an action, ultimately it will be dead. There will be no ecosystem services provided from that particular biodiversity or the nature or ecosystem to the community, to the society, to the environment that is dependent on it. It will, with some action, will there will be some replacement of the species, of the services. What we need to do is not the replacement. Just to make it more simple, I'll say if we take an if we convert, if we bring say road construction in between the national park or the very original ecosystem, along with as we construct a road, there is a soil that has been put over there from various areas. Along with soil, there are lots of seeds that comes of the different plants from other areas. They start growing over there, changing the complete composition of the species over there. There are some opportunistic species which have invaded by now throughout the globe, like lantana or subabul, etc. These are just few names, but there are quite a few species, even in fauna, like pigeons, etc. So they have taken up the native ecosystem, native species, because we have changed the land use, because we have altered the ecosystem. Is this beneficial? Probably not. They will give you some function, they will provide you some ecosystem services, but it is not a very good situation where we introduce exotic species, where we introduce nurture invasive alien species that will start competing and probably overcompete the native vegetation, native species, and then establish themselves. To a certain extent, as I said, they will provide some ecosystem services, but not all. The connect, the correlation with the faunal element will be lost, and there will be some acceleration to the species extinction or habitat fragmentation that will always happen. And that is why this restoration, when we take the restoration as a goal, restoration as an activity, it is very important that we understand what we need to do, whether we need to enhance the ecosystem, whether we need to rehabilitate ecosystem or the species, or whether we really need to do the original ecosystem to the max close to the original ecosystem. So with this, there are few principles that needs to bring in when we do ecosystem restoration. Ecological integrity, which I've talked about, needs to be maintained, and that's the very important principle in ecosystem restoration or ecological restoration. Efficient in using practical and economic method to achieve functional success. So right now we have a lot of methods, and we human are so evolved that we really can think from a different out of box, and that is how this nature based solutions etc have come in picture, where we need to look into the nature. We need to understand from nature. Nature is our teacher. Many has we implement it. As nature-based solution provides us three types of solution, wherein we look into exact nature-based solution, wherein we protect the biodiversity. There is some engineering component. If we include, then we try to mimic the biodiversity or assist the biodiversity. And there is complete engineering aspect of nature-based solution, where we look at, say, functioning of a ecosystem and try to recreate, re-engineered the same component which otherwise have an impact on the ecosystem, will actually take advantage of the ecosystem services or the nearby biodiversity, and provide us an ecosystem services. And this ecosystem services is, again, when getting implemented, it is an inclusive process. What is inclusive? Inclusive is, we'll have to consider all the aspects of ecology along with the societal aspects. The stakeholders who are involved will have to identify, will have to recognize their inputs, their contribution, and will have to widen the scope so that everyone will be benefited, everyone will have their say, and then only the ecosystem restoration will be successful. We'll have to consider the culture and the nature. That is the key to success for ecological restoration. And as per the problem, as per the issues that we'll have to identify, or say goal that we need to set up to do the ecological restoration, broadly there are three approach. One is overarching goal, wherein we'll have to consider point and non-point source, reef to reach approach. So it's like, even if, say, say one particular area is so much polluted, and we need to address the pollution of that area, we'll have to understand whether the pollution is from that particular location or it is from somewhere else. And through that, through that understanding, we'll have to address the root cause. Otherwise, it will keep on coming and we'll be doing a lot of activities, and ultimately we will lose the faith in the ecosystem restoration. We'll lose the faith from nature-based solutions. Our approach was wrong, not the solution. At the same time, if we really have to look into the, say, landscape for that matter, or the species recovery, we will have to think from the landscape level approach, wherein we consider some species recovery, their functioning, their interrelation between different taxas that were present, and of course with the abiotic factors like soil, moisture, local climate, etc., etc. At the same time, there are few areas which have been degraded because of our activities, and we need a site specific approach for that. For example, here you can see that there is a mine. So while closing the mine, once the minerals or say required or desired material has been extracted, harvested from that, we need to close this. We can do plantation, we can do some mine closure activities in such a way that ultimately it will start providing the ecosystem service. We may not go back to the, say, zero, because we have excavated the earth, we have taken the soil from there. So the flat ecosystem, the flat terrain has now trenches and vertical berths are there. But whatever it is, can we plant, can we grow trees over there? Absolutely yes. So why not? Can we store water there? Yes. It can be a good wildlife corridor. We may or may not have access, but yes, definitely nature will take care of it. When we say this, uh, what are the concepts or some best practices are required to understand or for the successful ecosystem services? We need to understand what at what level or what ecosystem that we need to restore. We need an reference ecosystem. As we, many of us has done experiments in our school days or college days, where we do a control and experimental setups. Similar to that, while doing a ecological restoration, we need to take some reference ecosystem. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand the functioning of a ecological restoration or that ecosystem that is to be done. And that is how the trajectory path that I have showed you. There will be lots of ups and downs when the naturally ecosystem has reached to X level. Probably our intervention, probably our assistance to the ecosystem may or may not look into that ups and downs or do that ups and downs, but definitely we need to take a reference of that change in composition or density, population, etc., or even the correlation between different taxas. Unless we take that, it will be very difficult for us to say that the ecosystem has successfully restored. At the same time, we'll have to identify the target. On the basis of these attributes, we will say we will decide a long term, short term goals. But long term is very important, because we need that ecosystem to be functioned to the extent that it will provide the ecosystem services for our next generations. And the most reliable way of recovery is to assist the natural recovery process. So we need to, as we are looking into ups and downs and the change in the composition or the interrelation, we also need to think whether we need a complete intervention, whether our role, what should be our role, whether it is to be the lead role or the supporting actors. If the ecosystem is taking care, if it is not degraded to that extent that it can take care of itself. Usually, if you see, if you keep any area like that, nature will come back. What kind of a species that comes back, that is more important. Whether these species are invasive or whether these species are the same that used to be flourish at say some time back, That is more important. And when we understand that, we will understand our role. But that role, understanding that role and uh, uh, abiding by that role is very important. We'll need to put all our efforts in all the steps that we considered, so that we can actually look into the full recovery of an ecosystem. And absolutely we need to take consideration of the traditional knowledge, local knowledge that is associated with this ecosystem. There is a lot of dependency of the local communities, and they understand way better than many others. Their dependency, if we understand and if we consider their knowledge, it will be very easy for us to understand the functioning of an ecosystem, and then act upon it in a required trajectory path, or by taking a approach and a right approach, uh, uh, following the principles of the ecological restoration. And as early as possible, if we do this integration or the stakeholder engagement, it will be much better. If we think, if we decide the goal first, if we decide the approach first, and then if we do the stakeholder engagement, probably we'll have to redo a lot of things. So in early stages, identifying the stakeholders, identifying their role, identifying their intensity of integration, and then taking them on board and going ahead is very important. So two things, as we said, culture and nature. We need to understand nature as well as the culture. Then only the ecological restoration will be possible. Now, this is just a sequence, that what steps we need to follow in what sequence, so that we will be having a better ecosystem after ecological restoration. So as a matter of fact, this is a general sequence. We'll have to think from every step, monitor our every step, and then take a decision. But in general, stakeholder engagement, external context assessment, ecosystem baseline inventory, what species are there, what kind of association they are forming, then understanding a reference ecosystem, identifying the gaps, then setting up targets, goals, and obviously the objectives, short-term, long-term targets, and then starting the restoration process, uh, along with the post-treatment activities, maintenance activities, monitoring activities, uh, and then gradually we will understand whether we are going in a right, say, trajectory path, we are going in the right direction or no. If we evaluate every step, it will be helpful for us to reanalyze and redo, say, very few steps if we are going in the wrong direction. But if we don't evaluate, then probably we'll have to come back many steps. And then, as we are aware, say if we plant a wrong species, our entire efforts, all efforts will go on, they will disrupt the entire objective. Like an example, we have, for doing afforestation, we have introduced eucalyptus, we have introduced subabul. What has happened? It's everywhere now. Probably eucalyptus is to a smaller extent, but subabul everywhere. But eucalyptus, what is it doing? It is actually reducing your groundwater. So we have thought for something, and then actually what has happened is our another ecosystem got depleted. So the efforts we have put to identify the species and plant it across the barren landscapes and the mountains has gone in vain. Our societies will be facing a challenge of having a water for drinking. So they might be getting a shade, but not the water. What is important at that time? And that is why this global goal has come into picture along with the awareness sensitization that we are talking about. And it is about the nature positive uh, by 2030. So unlike many goals here, if you see this picture, we are talking about 2020 as a initial point. We are saying, yes, we are at this point. You are at this location. You see that maps in malls and wherever you go, you are at this location. So we are at this point from where we are also considering, even if we take efforts for the initial time, there will be some loss. But what is our ultimate goal? Somewhere, somewhere in the middle of our trajectory path, we need to achieve the no net loss, net zero, and then shoot up to the net positive. And we have 1 decade. Why we have 1 decade? You might have heard, we might have read about a lot about 2035 there will be water crisis, 2050 end of this, end of that. So we need to act fast. Our entire climate change or our entire sustainability is depend on how fast we act and what we act. So it is a need of an hour to take some steps, bold steps, think out of box, but ultimately learn from nature to recover it. The ultimate goal is full recovery by 2050. Does that mean the dinosaurs will be back? Probably no, or rather no, because the reasons will be different. But what is more important is to understand that maximum ecosystem services that we need to achieve to live, to peacefully live, we need to bring back nature. We'll need a support from nature, and nature has to be there. We cannot live without it. The current pandemic situation has taught us many lessons and we need to learn from it. The source, probably that's a different aspect, but we need to take care of the nature so that nature will take care of us. If we nurture nature, nature will nurture us. And that is how this global goal for nature positive identifies the level of ambition needed to achieve nature positive world with three measurable temporal objectives. As I have said, zero net loss, net positive by 2030, and full recovery by 2050. So as I said, that ecosystem restoration or ecological restoration is just one part of of being a nature positive. Whatever we have degraded, whatever we have lost, we need to bring that back to the extent. It may not be the exact ecosystem as the original, but at least we'll try to mimic it. At least we'll try to make a similar ecosystem, and that will help us to bring back what we need at that time. So the deadlines are fixed. We need to act fast. We Terracon Ecotech has been instrumental in following a nature-based solutions as our tagline, as our working objective, as our passion, and that is how we have executed few of projects like ecological restoration plan and execution of the lake restoration at Mira Bhainder Mandli Lake, which is in Maharashtra. We have also prepared a DPR for lake restoration in Sitasagar Lake in Madhya Pradesh. Proudly, we say that we have almost planted 1 lakh mangrove saplings on the degraded mangrove areas in the coastline of the Vasai Bhinder Creek in the areas of Mira Bhinder Municipal Corporation. And that has helped the local communities because the areas which were otherwise empty are now flourish with the mangrove saplings. And also we have created a green jobs through that. We are currently doing an inventarization of water bodies in Mumbai metropolitan region, where we are looking into their status, what are the impacts that is happening on them, as well as we have shortlisted few for the authorities so that we can make a plan for restoration of these water bodies. And very proudly, we have introduced recently, we have launched an event where we are looking for 1 crore tree plantation in the areas of Shahpur and Murbad on the degraded areas, which will help the sustainable livelihood of the local communities. We have recently published, and we proudly say that Capgemini has actually helped us in the initial plantation by providing the CSR fund for 2 lakh saplings. But our aim is big. Our aim is 10 lakh trees in first attempt, second year 40 lakh, and third year 50 lakhs. Why? Because we need to address various challenges, various purposes, and that is why we have given a name to this as a plantation with purpose. We are not just doing a plantation. Our plantation is with purpose to solve the societal challenges of a food security, species recovery, habitat creation, climatic regulations, carbon sequestration, etc., etc., etc. And ultimately, yes, of course, the one who pays should get the benefit of it. At the same time, the one who protects also get a benefit. So the investment done by the corporates, they will get their benefit in terms of the protection that they have given, the certificates, etc. At the same time, locals will get all the ecosystem services that will generate by restoring this forest, and also the the products that will come, the fruits that will bear on the trees, the local communities will be shareholder for that. Right now, these people are completely dependent on the monsoon, and even even after having so much of precipitation, there is no water storage capacity that is over there. Some parts, yes, there is a thick forest, but because there is a water in a vicinity, if there is no water, the forest is degraded. Replenishment of the forest naturally is not happening, and that is why in assisted natural regeneration is very much required over there. Our human intervention is very much required over there to replenish the forest. With this, I'm proudly and very enthusiastically introduce our new service for the corporates as a nature positive corporates. As we have seen through, what are the factors that will help to achieve the nature positive, being a nature positive, and the steps, one of the steps, although, but what we can do to become a nature positive. Why we need to do? Because we are part of nature, because we are part of a solution. It probably not mandatory right now, but if you do this, there are a lot of compliances that obviously you will address, that you will complete. But as a voluntary, as a responsible human being, we need to do it. As a responsible businesses and the industries, we need to do it. We will bring our approach of rapid, where we will review the existing status, address the knowledge gap by assessing the impacts and the risk that is there to the corporate if we ignore the biodiversity, and we will plan the roadmap to implement and monitor this biodiversity, the success, the execution, the actions that has been taken up, and help them in displaying their actions. Why industries? Why corporates? Because if the industries and the corporates start taking up this, it will contribute to for the country to become a nature positive. There are various terms, the meaning is same. Biophilic cities, so cities which are nature is in the center, biodiversity is in center, and then they have been developed. So currently we have the cities with the development. Probably we need to rethink, redevelop those from a nature positive perspective. We are ready to help them as well. We are anyways doing a lot of activities with the corporations, and we will love to do with the cities to make them green, corporates to become a nature positive. Ultimately, it will be contribution to the nature, to the country to become a nature positive and achieve the goal that has been set at a global level. Proudly we can say that yes, we are nature positive. We share a post of Bhutan nature positive or carbon this thing country. What we do are simple acts like refusing plastic, refusing single use plastic, or even taking a cloth bag around. From that simple acts to the plantation and taking part into addressing and respecting nature, everything counts to become a nature positive. It will benefit the businesses for the better availability of a resource. As I said, every business is dependent on the nature, natural resources for their raw material. It will also reduce the management, their reputational risk. They will be able to manage the risk that are there from the biodiversity, improved quality of a life of the staff of the nearby societies, corporate reputation, and opportunities that they will get over their competitors, aesthetic and recreational educational purpose that will be solved. These ecosystem services will be gained. Ethics and values, these are more important. Right now we are so aware that we look into that. Community support, as I said, we look into that. Who is ethically doing the business, and we go with them. So community support will be there along with this ethics. If we generate an employment, definitely there will be support. As I said, regulatory compliances will be done. Circular economy, which is very important. Nothing should go waste. We should reuse, recycle, reinvent, re-engineer something. As we reduce this waste, probably our dependency on the fresh natural resources reduces so much, and that helps a lot to revive the nature, to protect the nature. And that is the whole crux to become a nature positive. If we start from we, obviously it will reach to the country and to the globe and to the entire human well-being. Being a corporate, as a policy maker, as a policy makers, to one aspect, yes, cities at a city level, it is very important that these aspects need to be covered up. And we proudly again say that we'll be capable to do this. We need this action in a very bold manner, and that is how we will change and maybe achieve the nature positive by 2030 and recovery all by 2050. With that, I complete my talk here, and thank you everyone for being attentive in this session. And let me ask my team to take the questions if there is time available. Thank you.
Thank you, Ninad sir. That concludes our webinar for today. We have set aside some time to take your questions. The first question is from Mr. Verma. From what he understands, restoration as a research topic in our country, it is still very young with minimal studies. So are these restoration work done on an experimental basis for each case, or is there any standard tried tested method available? And are there any resources for the restoration work available online?
Absolutely. Very good question, Mr. Verma. This is very, very, important stuff. Nature-based solutions or anything that happens with nature to the level, it is experimental, because nature is not something that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 always. And that is why whatever we do is kind of a experimental. But yes, there are set guidelines, as I shown in the presentation. There are approaches and the principles available. internationally, as well as we can apply them at a national level. There is a research that is always going on that we need to that we can implement it. As I showed during a few of the last slides, that we have taken some steps to restore some areas. There is a kind of a, with say specific species or specific areas, it is already carried out, and that is why the set examples, the best practices are available. If it is something new, probably the experiments will require, probably we need to do some combinations of the available research as well as the methods, and do it. So research is available, research is going on, methods and approaches are available, we need to follow that. Experiments is a process of learning. Unless and until we do experiments and monitor it, we will not be successful. It's not the very easy kind of a path that okay, you do this and you will get this. There will be a lot of factors that will govern the success. I hope I have answered your question.
Should we move on to the
Yeah,
next question?
yeah, usually.
Um, so this question is from Mahalakshmi Konar. Can you explain who are the stakeholders and what is logistics? She missed, I think she missed some part.
Okay, just briefly, I'll tell when we are taking restoration, ecological restoration as a process, we need to understand the dependent communities, as well as we need to consider who will be the instrumental stakeholders to achieve the ecological restoration that we have decided. And that these are the stakeholders that we need to understand. These stakeholders can be different from the as we change the site. This will be very contextual stakeholders. Even the policymakers, administrators will be also stakeholders, because ultimately they are giving you the powers and the authorities and permissions. So they will be also part of this. The beneficiaries, the target audience will be also a part of a stakeholders, because they are ultimately going to get the benefit, as well as you are going to do the interventions in their area. So these all are stakeholders which we need to understand. And logistic is essentially what uh, when we are doing some activities, obviously there are money involved. So what we are doing, how we are doing, who will generate funds, from where it will come. So probably I miss this thing, but there is something like uh, between now and 2030, the restoration of 3 million hectares of degraded terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem could generate 9 trillion US dollars in ecosystem services. And this restoration could also remove 13 to 26 gigatons of greenhouse gases. So when we are looking at these figures, we need to understand the logistic as well. Yeah, Ujjwal.
Thank you for answering that. There's next question from Shravani Mageshkar. Plantation can be a solution for restoration of a particular ecosystem, but just planting trees without knowledge of topography can affect the biodiversity, and also topography can be changed. So how can we overcome this problem?
Yeah, very well said. That's what the whole crux was. When we are doing a restoration, we need to understand everything, and that is why it is inclusive and integrated approach is very much required. Uh, as I said, that one of our activities is a plantation with purpose, where we are considering the purposes of that particular area within the larger context. We are taking a small areas, and we are trying to identify the the environmental factors, the ecosystem services that it could have been provided, and then we are selecting a species. So as you rightly said, yes, it will change the topography, and I guess that is the example that I have quoted of eucalyptus. We have unthinkably we have planted the eucalyptus, and the water level has gone down, the groundwater level. So to overcome this, we need to understand, if we are doing a restoration, we need to understand the reference ecosystem, the dependencies from the communities and the nature over there, and then select the species. If we do not have that, we will probably have to get into, as I was addressing the first question, researches are there. We need to understand from the documentation what was there. Similar areas right now, GIS is getting implemented in every aspect. We need to take the help of GIS and remote sensing to understand what could have been here, so that we will try to restore the areas and select the right species before they go extinct. I guess, Ujali, we can take one more last question, and then we can probably address all the answers, all the questions through answers by emailing them.
Yeah, we sure will do that. So last question we'll take for the day. Could you please give us examples of species level restoration, especially when a particular SOS is very much harvested? Sorry, species is very much harvested.
Okay, so absolutely, this is very much important, as the demand is there, species has been harvested. Now, species is whether species is being harvested from wild, that is why you are saying, that is why you are asking, and in that case, cultivation of this species is very important. So to bring that species into harvest, to bring that species into cultivation and protection, so there are two things. One, in situ, that is in their natural environment, we should protect that species, and in agricultural practices, we need to bring these species into cultivation, so that there will be, we can supply as against the demand, and we will conserve that species. Yeah, Ujjwal.
Thank you. So I think we will try to email all the questions, all the answers back to the participants.
Yeah,
Thank you so
so
much for being here.
those who have any queries, any doubts, please, here on this slide you can see the address and our social networking sites information available. So you can just email us your questions. We'll try to answer your queries, as well as if there are any queries related to our services, or what you can do, or if you want our services, you are free to call us, you are free to contact us, and we'll be there to help you out. Thank you. Yeah, Ujjwal, you can
Yeah.
conclude.
Thank you so much for being here all with us today. Thank you and have a nice day.